Hi, Daryl. How are you?
Good about yourself.
Good, good. I see a couple of people online now. So yeah. So thanks for coming on. And why don't we get started by you introducing yourself? Why do you call yourself the notorious BTG?
Hi, thanks for having me. It's been a long time coming. My name's Daryl Perry, otherwise known as the guy with the bow tie. And my recent hashtag has been the notorious BTG. I actually rap on LinkedIn a fair amount. So somebody saw one of my videos and said, "Oh, and this was a name somebody gave me." So I didn't make it up. They're like, "You should go by the notorious BTG for bow tie guy because you always will see me with bow tie most times on LinkedIn." But
Uh,
I'm an insurance professional that tries to make insurance fun, not boring.
okay. So how did you come up with the bow tie thing?
Oh, good question. So, total accident. So, I started in insurance about 7 years ago, and I have a lot of neckties, and I had worn them a lot previously in my last career. My wife was like, "Hey, you can make a necktie into a bow tie." And I was like,
Mhm.
"Really?" She said, "Yeah, look it up on YouTube." I saw a video for it, so I watched the video and I made my neckties and the bow ties. And
Mm,
often I would cold call people, and when you meet somebody that you haven't seen in person, you try to describe what you look like. So
mhm.
I would say, "Hey, I'll be the guy with the bow tie."
I see.
My mentor heard me say that and was like, "Oh, the guy at the bow tie, I like that." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I just kind of ran with that as marketing, and then LinkedIn made it a brand for me because I always
Mhm.
felt this way. So total accident, but it's a gift and a curse because if I don't wear a bow tie, people call me out for it.
I see. Okay, well, that's a good personal branding. Like, it's a good way to link yourself to something. Okay, so do you do insurance? So let's talk about like what kind of insurance do you sell, and then why is it important? So let's start with like what kind of insurance are out there. What kind of insurance you sell, and why insurance is important.
Yeah. So first thing about it is that is people insurance is like the way I break it down for people. We're all used to the insurance you have to have, which is home insurance, auto insurance. Those are things you have to have. I do people insurance, so anything related to a person. So if it's for your pet, I don't do it. If it's for your car, I don't do it. If it's for your house, I don't do it. But if it's
Got.
something to protect your health, or your income, I'm a military brat. My dad was in the army for a long time, so I didn't have the no
Mm-hmm.
insurance until I was 21. So I was behind in learning those things. So I think about my experience as a young man. I didn't know what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
so I make it important to teach people. This is how to look at health insurance. This is how to look at life insurance. This is what disability is. This is how you can build retirement from life. There's so many things that we don't know about from the insurance side because we kind of say it's boring. I don't want to deal with it. It's morbid. So I try to make that stuff fun so people can actually understand and take advantage like the wealthy have.
Mm-hmm. So why do you think people think insurance is boring?
The jargon. I mean, it's written in so much legalese and like insurance jargon. I mean, if you look at most studies from like NerdWallet, USA Today, they say about 4 to 14% of people can actually explain their health insurance. 4 to 14%
Mm-hmm.
nationwide. So this is because the terms are kind of like lawyer terms. They're written in such a way that the
Mm-hmm.
average person doesn't know what the heck it's talking about. So it becomes boring because
Mm-hmm.
it's like around, and you don't hear it. So you're like, how much is it? Give me the cheapest thing possible. So for me, I try to make it very like fourth grade level. Like, hey, this pays you if you get cancer. This one is if you need to go to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make it super simple, because I know for me, when I looked at insurance, it was the HR person. They would just come
Mm-hmm.
and say, "Hey, it's open enrollment. You got
Mm-hmm.
to sign something," and they never explained it to me. So I was learning as I went, kind of like, well, give me the cheap one, or what does this do? What does that do? So I think about the
Mm-hmm.
average consumer has that same problem that they either trust their HR or they're going on Google and just trying to figure out what's out there. And since they don't know, they just kind of pick based on price and end up in a bad situation. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the way it's written, kind of like financial stuff, like you do. I mean, you're in the financial space. Most of those things are boring. They like the result, but people
Mm-hmm.
look at APR and interest and annuity. Like they don't like looking at that stuff because, like, Christine, just get me retired. Like I don't care about all that. Just tell me what it does.
Mm-hmm.
That's how most people seem to be in my experience.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about health insurance because, like, I know people because some like don't even have health insurance, but then like that's pretty important because then like what happens if you get into an accident and stuff like that. So let's talk because so with health insurance, I think when I was doing taxes for the low income, like sometimes their agent underestimate their income, especially for people in the marketplace insurance, or subsidized one.
Yep.
So like, yeah, and then if they underpay, like I remember one couple I felt so bad for them. They're older couple, like probably in their 50s.
Uh-huh.
So they when they sign up with an agent, they really underestimate. So they got like a huge I
Penalty.
don't know, like it was a huge subsidy. So then when we did their tax return, they actually made more than that, and they never updated it. So they end up owing actually $10,000 for
Yep.
the subsidy. So they would have saved the money by actually going to private insurance instead.
Hmm.
So let's talk about that. That's really important. You can't like especially if you're gonna do subsidy. So I know, like, even I know one insurance guy, he didn't even understand this. He's like, yeah, you can just pay back or whatever. So I think knowing at least the income is very important, and then and really educating your client is like, how much subsidy is this, and then like, if you do make more, how much subsidy are you expected to pay back?
Yeah, that's important because the first 2 years of affordable healthcare, people were gaming the system. So, what would happen? People go in Walmart usually or Target, and they would see an insurance
Mm-hmm.
ad, and these agents were paid usually $20 a head or something like that. It was more volume. It wasn't like a high commission. So they were thinking, I need to get as many people out of here as quick as possible. So they would lowball
Mm-hmm.
very low. And the problem is what you're saying. Once they start to take your taxes next year, they're like, wait a minute, we gave you $8,000 last year to help you pay your insurance, and you didn't need it. Give it back. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a problem, especially self-employed people have, because they have this mindset of don't tell the government, which I understand where that comes from. But when you do it
Mm-hmm.
for insurance, they'll find out. Because the idea of affordable healthcare was to help people that need the help, not
Yeah.
the person making $500,000 that just wants to, lie on their taxes for it. So it's a big problem. That's why I tell a lot of self-employed people, like, be real honest with me about what you're actually taking home, not on your taxes, but what you really take home, because you might change it next year on your tax return and forget about it, and then you'll be mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to be dead honest with you because I don't get paid for health insurance. That's one thing I advise, but I don't want to get paid for it. Reason is health insurance to me is like an ethical thing. I don't want to get paid for because
Mm-hmm.
you might need it for a cancer surgery, chemotherapy, or a
Mm-hmm.
heart attack. So I don't want the possibility of something I sold you not working for your need and I get paid for it. And it's like a predatory thing in my mind. So for health insurance, that's advised. Like, hey, that's a good plan. That's a bad plan. But at that same time, I tell people straight up, like, they're giving you money to help pay this down. So if it's not accurate, you will owe something back. So give me the most accurate depiction. If you say your business was down this year and you think it's going to go up, what's up? What does up mean next year? Don't give me the
Mm-hmm.
worst case scenario again, because you might be
Mm-hmm.
in a situation.
Yeah. So why are some health insurance private and why are under marketplace? So like, how do they determine, does the insurance company actually has to be part of the marketplace insurance? They have to apply for it?
Yeah, the carrier, it's kind of an application and decision. So, like, I'm in here in Georgia. When it first came out, like, we had Humana, then Humana pulled out. Humana said, "Hey, they were
Mm.
dominant for like 2 years," and they said, "Oh, we're losing too much money, we're leaving." So there are
Oh.
state-run plans. Like the state, every state has like a state-run plan that goes to the
Mm.
marketplace. So there's at least that. But the carriers, they decide, are we going to make enough money in this state? So that's why going from different areas, like here in Georgia, some parts of Georgia don't take Blue Cross Blue Shield versus
Mm.
better because they're regionally thinking where we make the most return. So it's unfortunately because
Mhm.
capitalism has its good and its bad, and when it comes to health, it's a bad thing. That the
Mhm.
health insurance companies, they got to make a buck. They're a capitalist company, so they're thinking where will we make
Mhm.
the return. So that's the problem, that you can't have one plan across the nation with individual carriers deciding. That's where people kind of get up in arms about Medicare for all, because
Mhm.
that's a possibility where everywhere you go, they'd be the same company, but that defeats
Mhm.
capitalism. So it's kind of like a hard thing because people need to have health care. I think it should be a right, not a privilege, which is also why I don't want to get paid for health insurance. So it's one of those things that it's just, as a consumer, it's difficult. But I will
Mhm.
tell people, do not Google buying health insurance, because unfortunately, there's so many different options out there that are not quite health insurance. And some of them are okay if you need that kind of situation. But if you think this is going to cover pregnancy or surgery or something, a lot of people get messed up by Googling inexpensive health insurance, cheap health insurance, and they click the first Google ad they see.
Mhm.
Some of it's predatory. So I would tell you, talk to a human. If you're going to buy something for health insurance and it's not for me, that's fine. Just make sure you actually talk to someone and not just a chat
Mhm.
email.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. So okay. Oh wait, you said you don't get commission from health insurance?
Oh, no, no, I don't want to. The story of that was 2013. I was getting into affordable healthcare just to try it out, and a woman
Okay.
called me deadline. So the deadline was, I think, that year was the December 20th or something like that.
Yeah.
Called me up and said, "Hey, I need to get a plan right now, but I'm kind of strapped for cash." I said, "Okay, well, this is what this is made for." She said, "Well, no, you don't understand. My husband got laid off 6 months ago, and I've had cancer for the past 10 months. So I plan that will cover my surgery. Otherwise, I'll pass away next year because I got to have this
Mm-hmm.
surgery." And the hospital said they will not do the surgery unless I have health insurance. So when she told me that, I'm like, I don't want to get paid a penny for this because you're
Mm-hmm.
literally telling me if I don't buy something from you, I'm going to die. And that just hit me like I'm done. I'll tell you what to get. I don't put my agent code, don't put nothing. Let's just get this done. So when people contact me for health insurance, I just advise this is what the best option is. The stuff I get paid for is like the help you things. Like if you had a baby, here's a check. If you had cancer, here's a check. If your dad passed away too soon, here's a check. The things that help you, not the stuff
Mm-hmm.
you need to have to live. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of why I made that decision, just to not have that in the back of my mind that I profited off of your need for care.
Mm. So your top three products that people need, insurance from you is what products usually that you sell?
So broad swatch is employee benefits, just for small businesses that don't have benefits in place. That's one. That could be your dental, your disability, vision, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
That's a
Okay.
big
Oh,
for businesses if you have employees. Number
mhm.
two would be probably disability to protect your income, and lastly is life insurance.
Okay. What kind of life insurance do you normally sell?
So normal is a loaded question. I look at all the kinds of life insurance that make sense for the person. So a big thing I'm passionate about is the fact that life insurance has a tax-free income component because any revenue you generate from life insurance, let me not say any, majority of the time from life insurance, the money that comes from it is tax-free. So a lot of people, you hear about infinite banking, being your own bank, something like that. That's when you use a life insurance policy fund, and the cash you pull from it is not taxed. So it's a great wealth generation vehicle, just because you know this very well too. There's not many things that transfer wealth without taxes, and life insurance is probably like the main thing, if not the only thing, that would transfer wealth if somebody passes tax free, as well as generate income for the policyholder to use tax free. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing that the
Mm-hmm.
wealthy about, but the average consumer doesn't really get education on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk about the employee benefits for small business. So what are some of these benefits that you sell to small businesses?
So a big one for small businesses, especially with COVID-19, is
Mm-hmm.
short-term disability. You're in Nevada, I'm in Georgia. We've had a lot more cases here than you guys have had, but I've had clients that have been in the hospital 5 weeks, people that got tested positive and they couldn't work for a month and a half. So when those situations happen, I have to ask an employer, "Hey, if one of your employees gets
Mm-hmm.
COVID-19, what do you do to help them?" They're like, "Well, what
Mm-hmm.
do you-" like if they couldn't work because they had COVID, what do you do to help them? They're like, "Well, I had
Mm-hmm.
loans before." Like, no, that's to pay them to not work. This is if they got sick,
Mm-hmm.
couldn't work. What do you do? Like, I don't do anything. That's on them. So
Mm-hmm.
short-term disability can often be offered at no employer cost. The employer doesn't have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
So they can just say, "Here, guys, it's cheaper if I offer it to you than if you call this guy directly," because it is. It's a discounted rate to go through a group. So
Mm-hmm.
the way an employer can help to protect their staff, saying, "I can't afford to buy all these fancy benefits, but I can get this to make it cheaper for you and just payroll deduct it." And that's been very helpful because of COVID. Because obviously now we got to think about, what if I got sick? What if I had this happen? So it's a way to help the employees feel safe without the employer paying for it. So that's a big one right now.
Okay, awesome. So let's talk about disability. So, okay, when do you advise someone to get disability? Because like there's different. I've interviewed other financial advisors too, so people have different viewpoints. So I'm curious to see when you think people should have disability,
Yeah.
and about how much is that?
So a good question. It depends on the kind of work person they are and the kind of work status and age. So
Mm-hmm.
talking plain old, you call your Edward Jones guy, your New York Life guy for a disability policy. That's usually
Mm-hmm.
white collar. Those have a 30-day waiting period usually. So most of those plans mean you can't access the funds until 30 days pass. So a white collar situation, that's usually an idea for people. If we're talking about childbirth, surgeries, things of that nature, that's usually a work site benefit. Work site means the employer sponsors it or at least offers it to them. So if we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about work site benefit, that's usually the best way to go, because for my young ladies out there, short-term disability covers childbirth, the recovery time. but
Mhm.
individual plan does not. If you buy an individual disability plan, 9 out of 10 times it doesn't cover childbirth. So
Mhm.
women usually that's a very common disability that women have, not all do, but many do. So in that 2 months they're not working, they'll get upset if they had that individual disability
Mhm.
that's not covered. But through
Mhm.
the job, it's definitely covered. I mean, I say definitely because I can't say it for all carriers. Any carrier,
Mhm.
it works when it's on the job, like a on the job
Mhm.
policy. So if it's a work site policy, heavily recommended. Individual
Mhm.
wise, I think of the people that's a solopreneur. That's kind of like, hey, if I was gone for a month, this whole thing would go kaput. That's definitely good for disability for that kind of person. That's a solopreneur. But if they're not
Mhm.
in that income bracket, it's hard to justify it because it is pricier sometimes. So
Mhm.
my advice for this generally is if you know that the business will not operate without you, then it's helpful.
Mhm.
Talking about worksite benefits, I have plenty of employers that will kind of create a group plan because it takes 3 people to make a group plan.
Mhm.
So it could be the employer, their spouse, and their administrative assistant, something like that. They can actually
Mhm.
group plan that way where they can get a worksite offering, which will give them the full coverage of disability, and it kicks in 0 days or 7 days. That's usually the quickest you can do. Those plans are super
Mhm.
awesome because they'll cover you quickly. But those 30-day wait plans, I know it gives you that sense of security, but I got to look at the math. If you got to miss a whole month and it's costing you out the nose to get it, it might not be the best fit if you're at a situation where you can't afford that.
Mhm. So, just like give an example for disability. How much is it? I don't know. Okay, like how old do you normally like? Should they get it when they're younger? Like a new doctor? Okay, like if they're a doctor, yeah, if they become disabled, that's a pretty
Yeah, it's
big
expensive. Yeah.
lump. Yeah, yeah. So let's say it's a doctor. I don't know. They become a doctor at 30. So like for a doctor, 30-year-old, how much is usually disability
Yeah,
insurance cost?
30s to 40s is like a good range for it. Now, when you say how much is based on the wage you're looking to cover. The
Mm,
biggest issue when you mentioned the tax thing is that people
mm-hmm,
say, well, I make this much, but on taxes it shows this much. Um,
mm,
it's based on what actually is reported on the taxes. So that's another problem for people with disability is they go and
mm-hmm,
lowballing it for Uncle Sam. And then when they get a disability policy, they're like, well, that's what we're using for your income. So that's
mm-hmm,
another problem is that crafting it is difficult sometimes. Now, I will say
mm-hmm,
if you're like 60 plus, it's probably too expensive, or even 50 plus is probably too expensive to make sense. In that
mm-hmm,
a great option is using life insurance with living benefits. So
mm-hmm,
you can have a life insurance policy that says, hey, if you had something like a terminal illness diagnosis, you get a large portion, if not all, of the death benefit while living.
mm-hmm.
Or you can have it
Yeah,
say, if you're out of work for 3 months, you get
yeah.
start drawing a disability off. So that's a great way to rob Peter to pay Paul in essence is using life insurance because it's hard when you get like 50 plus to get something at the age you think about it usually. A lot of 50-year-olds are like, man, I need disability because I'm falling apart. But it's pricey.
Mm-hmm,
So I would say like 20s to 40s is probably the best range for like a regular disability policy. But most of them have the renewal
mm-hmm,
year, so they're going to change throughout.
mm-hmm,
So in my experience, life is a good way to design your own policy with life
mm-hmm.
insurance. If you die, this happens. If the car accident happens, this happens. You can do a lot of little riders on life insurance
Mm-hmm.
to make your own decision.
Yeah, that's I mean, I think there's pros and cons between that, right? So it really depends on the person because like when I talk to financial advisors, the way they see it too is like, yeah, I mean disability or like they're more into some of the ones that are into term life insurance, like maybe you can have the 30-year while you build your wealth for the 30 years or like you have the disability early on in your age, so then that gives you time to build your wealth. So by the time later on you already have enough wealth that you don't need the disability or the life insurance later on. So I think it just really depends on
Yeah,
the situation of the client. Yeah,
let me
yeah. So that's why we. Yep.
term thing. This is a big issue I have with people with term is definitely the best return on if
Hmm.
something does happen early. The
Yeah.
thing people miss out on is while they're young, the cost of insurance is super low. So if you're
Hmm.
a 20-year-old and you're just doing term and investing the difference, you can invest the difference, but most people don't have the what's the word? Not the work ethic, but the consistency to actually do that.
Hmm.
If it were to cost me $100 for life insurance and I'm going to spend 20 on term, most people won't invest that $80. You know that very well from what you do.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that really depends on the person.
yeah, so
That-
I'm doing a forced method. Like, hey, the cost of insurance is $20. You're going to put $100 in this policy. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So that extra 80 is going to cash value. That's forcing them
Mhm.
to save, and that money isn't taxed. And then God forbid they die early. That isn't taxed for the next generation. versus the investments and all that, they will get taxed for the next generation. So it's a way for those people that don't have the discipline to really dig into full investment. I still say get investments, but it's still like another piece to say have your investments because you need to do that because it has more growth potential. But the life insurance is kind of like the bond space. It's like a safe area that's usually pretty guaranteed. It's pretty safe. It's another option to have for those that need that extra cushion, the extra discipline. So you're right, but it's just most people that term I like for kids. For like if you got young kids, say, hey, something happens to me in the next 20 years, little Billy,
Mhm.
okay. That's definitely what term is about. But you can do special things like return a premium. There's policies
Mhm.
that if you don't use it, you get back a large portion of the premium for not
Mhm.
dying early. That's a great
Mhm.
life insurance for term. We don't get
Mhm.
taught that. People just do, oh, $10 a month for $100,000 life insurance. They don't know
Mhm.
the outs in that. So I like to slow them down a little bit. Like, hold on,
Mhm.
there are options you can do. You pay a little
Mhm.
extra, but it means you get the money back at the end.
Mhm. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so let's talk. I know that it's November now, so it's open enrollment time. So what does that mean?
Yeah, good question. So a lot of people think open
Mhm.
enrollment means for everything. It just means for affordable healthcare, but it
Mhm.
overlaps with small businesses doing benefits. So affordable
Mhm.
healthcare is November 1st to December 15th. If you need to do Obamacare, ACA, healthcare.gov, whatever you call it, is November 1st
Mhm.
to December 15th. Hard cutoff. There's no extensions for
Mhm.
that. The only way you do it outside of that window is if you had a life event like a marriage, divorce, death, or birth, then you have a special enrollment period.
Mhm.
Then you can
Or
do
if you move to a different state, like me.
you're right. Moving is another one too. So that's a special
Yeah.
enrollment. You get 60 days from when that actually falls to
Mhm.
do that. Um,
Mhm.
but for small businesses, they don't have that hard, fast deadline. It's just most businesses
Mhm.
say, hey, I want my benefits to start January 1st to match my fiscal year. So
Mhm.
they have open enrollment, quote unquote, the same time because they're all enrolling right now. So
Mhm.
my
Yep.
clients are enrolling now because they had January effective date. So individuals, the December 15th to cut off, but for small businesses, you kind of have till about December 28th at the latest, really, if you're
Mhm.
a small business and want to do something.
Got it. Got it. Awesome. Okay, everyone. So be responsible. Don't forget the deadline. Okay, so let's talk about LinkedIn. Like, I know you're pretty. Tell me more about like how LinkedIn has benefited you and how active are you on LinkedIn? I know I haven't been very active since I moved to Vegas, so I'm kind of taking a break. But I'm gonna come back again. I used to be online on LinkedIn every day. Now I like barely on unless I do LinkedIn Live. So tell
Yeah.
me more about yeah how LinkedIn has benefited you and how active and what do you use LinkedIn for?
Yeah. Well, I guess my career began with cold calling.
Mhm.
I built my agency on cold calling in the very beginning because I didn't know anybody. I used to live in Vegas, so I moved from Vegas to Georgia, not really knowing more than three people. So it was
Mm.
all cold calling then. So
Mhm.
after a few years of doing that, I'm like, there's got to be a way to not have to call people that out the blue that don't know me and do this. And I appreciate
Mhm.
like you're jumping in from Illinois. We had Jonah from LA. So I mean, I like that I can meet other people online that
Mhm.
can find value in what I do. So I've been on LinkedIn
Yep.
since 2010. Wasn't posting a whole lot back then. I was just making connections and
Mm.
connecting with people.
Mhm.
And then probably 17 or so, I started kind of putting some stuff like a inspirational picture or article. You have these little levels to LinkedIn. And then
Mhm.
18, I started making videos, like here and there, make a video. Then finally in 19, I got live access, and I was terrified. I was like, I don't know what people want to watch me talk live for on the internet. And Shanae Moray is a friend of mine now. I met Shanae Moray, and shout out Shanae Moray if she watches the replay. But I met her, and she had me live on her platform, and I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I can do that. And then I just started making live content, and what it's done for me is just my work is not the most fun thing. People
Mhm.
hear about insurance all the time. I mean, they say people
Mhm.
planning their life insurance and health insurance versus they'll spend months planning a vacation. So I'm in the
Mhm.
middle of it, so you don't want to listen to me all day about that. So when I go live and when I do pictures and images, it's usually not about life insurance or anything. It's just stuff I care about that's important. And people will ask me like, "Hey, you seem cool. Why don't we talk about this? Hey, you seem interesting. Why don't we talk about this?" So it's made the conversation easier because LinkedIn is not about selling on the platform,
Mhm. Mhm. Yep.
having a conversation happen. If somebody
Exactly.
conversation about finance with you, you have a chance to do what you do. Somebody have a conversation with me about health insurance, I have a chance.
Mhm.
But that's what I use it for is to, hey, just talk to me. If you don't want to get it, that's fine. But at least if I have
Mhm.
an opportunity to talk to you, you can decide if I'm the right fit for you.
Mhm. Got it. Got it. Okay. So That's awesome. So yeah, it seems like LinkedIn has been doing pretty well for you, and then you're doing the LinkedIn Live. So do you do solo LinkedIn Live or mostly with guests?
90% would guess. I'd probably done 5 by myself at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's kind of by design because again, nobody wants to hear about insurance all day. So I've done like 4 different shows. My first show
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
behind the bow tie. I would
Uh-huh.
do me just talking about whatever, and that was like 2 episodes. Then it was insurance WTF, which was words.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to play funny with WTF, it's words to follow, and
Uh-huh.
each insurance word. Like today, we're going to talk about deductibles. That did so.
Uh-huh.
And I did LinkedIn local. I would take somebody in Georgia and I go live with them just to say, hey, this
Mm.
yeah, I actually know that's real here. And I
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
the last show, Business with Benefits, that had the catchiest name to it.
yeah.
And I thought about business has more benefits than money.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my guests are not financial people. I mean, you're probably the only financial person I've actually interviewed, I think.
Oh.
Point. Everything else has been mental health, racial
Oh, okay.
inequity, physical stuff, all kinds of different things that are benefits to,
Oh, okay.
and
Oh, okay. So it's really just whatever topic that you like to talk about. So you just have, what random guests come online that who are interesting to you. Like, do you have a certain theme of people you bring to on board? Because for me, like, I try to revolve it all around mainly around finances because this is insurance is around personal finance. So I mean, once in a blue moon, actually no, almost everyone is around that because real estate is around finance, the nomadic lifestyle that's kind of around finance. So I kind of that's kind of my theme. So
yeah.
do you have a theme for yours? Like how do you select your guests?
So my guest selection, one, I don't want you to sell the whole time you're on my show. So if I
Yep.
expect the vibe that you're going to go up there and say, hey, go to my page and sign up for this, go to this, do this. If I get that vibe, I'm like, nope, we're not working together. This isn't going to work. That's a big no for me.
Mm-hmm.
But number two is if you have something valuable to share, because when I think about benefits for a business provide value. So benefits are valuable to employees once they understand them. So my theme is like once you understand X, you might find value in it. So once you understand mental health, you might find it valuable. Once you understand senior living, you might find it valuable. So every guest has something I find valuable that I
Mm-hmm.
know a little bit about, but I might want to
Mm.
know more. And it's
Got
all
it. Yeah.
self-reflective conversation. I'm learning while I'm live.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't usually have set questions, which people think is crazy. I just kind of go with the flow, but it's to me like a conversation with me, the guest, and the audience. So,
Mm.
like when you and I went live, I don't think we prepped at all. I just said, "Hey, what do
Yeah.
you want to talk?"
Yeah.
I would have
Yeah.
thought, okay, good. That's all I need.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I remember you reached out to me, so I appreciate that conversation.
Yeah, that's all it is. Just a conversation. So, like,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
show, but it's loosely a show. Like, I have an opening
Yeah.
intro video, I
Yeah. Yep.
introduce
Yep.
myself, and then boom, we get into it. So to me,
Yeah.
that's what I like because I like to see that natural. It's not like a stuffy thing. Not
Mm.
that shows are stuffy, but some of them you can kind of tell. We went left field with the question. That was like, why'd they go to that topic? Well, that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Yep.
it's kind of like a real dialogue with 3 people.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I like it. I just like it's just like you're going out for coffee with someone, you're just getting to know someone the first time and then you just have a conversation. So that's what like there's no pressure. We have a certain topics to talk about, but whatever just come out. And then also depending on the time, like sometimes there are times where it's busier than not. I notice like Friday night or Saturday morning is usually the busiest, I guess, because it's like, oh, work day's over already or Saturday morning. So it really depends. Like you don't know who's gonna be online, but they can always watch the replay. So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks, Sarah. So how do you have any last words to share? I know it's open enrollment, whatever, or like message you can share with people about their insurance, and then how can people find you?
Well, I'll give a LinkedIn tip for people to kind of help out. The algorithm's been kind
Hmm.
of not merciful lately. So you've been away for a while, but video kind of has been struggling to get exposure on LinkedIn recently.
um,
So my one tip for a lot of people is people think the sales happen on LinkedIn. It's really in the messages. If anybody watching this is not using audio messages or video messages, you're missing the boat. The main thing is your avatar on your page and all that shows who you are, but
mm-hmm.
you want to actually build a relationship. So those people
Yeah.
that read your content, that follow you, that pipe in and comment something, send them a message.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a
Mm-hmm.
to send an audio message so they know you're a real person because there are bots out there and fake profiles.
Yeah.
So if you send a little
Yep.
audio like, "Hey, thanks for following my page. I appreciate it. I'd love to chat with you one day." Just something to
Yeah.
let them know you're a real person. And
Yep.
I probably only get a handful because you have a bigger following than I have. But I only get probably a
Mm-hmm.
handful of video messages and audio messages per week. So I know
Mhm.
from sending them out, I'm the only one they're probably getting. So they're like, oh, that was
Mhm.
cool. I didn't know you can even send video messages in LinkedIn. And those things help you stand out. So at least you can have a conversation. Because the whole point of this social media is to be social. It's not just to sell stuff, it's
Mhm.
to be social with people. So do
Yep,
that. And
exactly.
so no matter what your industry is, I'm in a boring industry. I'm probably the main one you see when you look up insurance on LinkedIn because I'm so active. But most of my
Mhm.
content isn't insurance driven. So if you just put stuff out there and engage people, you develop a community
Mhm.
people that like you, and it doesn't have to be a massive community, but just some people that like you. You don't have to have 500,000 followers. Just at least some
Mhm.
ride with you, and they'll
Mhm.
come around. So give it time. It's not like an overnight thing where you get on this profile and next month you're a millionaire. It takes time, but if
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Social media, you have to be patient, just like with building any relationship. It takes time. So when I coach people, like, you can't expect, oh, you show up and then, oh, lots of people are gonna come. No, it takes time to build that, like, know, and trust. And also, like, there's a lot of people who want to do the shortcut. They DM a bunch of people, and then I've been getting a lot of DMs too. So no, people hate that. Yeah, don't do that. Like, focus on building that, showing up, and then using attraction marketing. Let people come to you, let show up, and then show people that you can bring value, and then just get focus on just bringing value. What does the audience need? What can they learn? I mean, like, what can they benefit from you being online? So basically what products you sell, that show the value through your posting, through your video, text, whatever. So focus on that one, and then slowly they're gonna come to you when they're like, oh wow, I do like the message. I'm learning a lot from it. So they'll just slowly come to you. So that's the best thing to go about it. So
yeah,
yeah.
I
So
think
that.
a friend of mine said called it unused but usable information.
Yes.
Unused but usable information. So like the stuff I know about insurance is I know it, but the
Mm-hmm.
average person doesn't know it. So like I've been
Yep.
in insurance 7 years now. I didn't know about the tax-free elements of life insurance the first 2 years. I have a life
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know that for the first 2 years. So a
Mm-hmm.
person is not at all in that. I'm like, let me tell people this because they might not know that. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody watching this, if you just have information that's not well known, that's a great thing to use for content that's valuable because you're like, oh, I had no idea this was a thing. That's what you should be being valuable because we always throw this out there on social media. Be valuable, be valuable. Think about the stuff you don't know that you wish you knew before you got into your business. That's
Mm-hmm.
stuff you
Yep.
should be telling people about all even day.
Yep. Exactly. Okay. So Dara, how can people find you?
Yeah, so one thing you can probably see my hashtag right there. It's my new fun hashtag. Somebody gave me that hashtag. The notorious BTG for bow tie guy, or a hashtag bow tie guy, or a hashtag business benefits. I got a few different hashtags.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me here on LinkedIn. I'm only on LinkedIn and YouTube, and YouTube houses my show. So business of
Mm-hmm.
benefits is on YouTube if you need to catch old articles or old
Mm-hmm.
episodes. But
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn is a great place to find me. I stay there pretty frequently, and I'm not like on it all day, but I do check my messages and reply to people. And send me a video message. I see we got Jonah Lemonade. Is that no Jonah Lemon?
Lemon.
Lemon. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
send me a video message. Send me an audio message. Just say hi. I get tickled when people actually do it back because some people it's their first time. Like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
god, I've never said. I could hear it like they just like in the audio message. One tip for people: don't set it up where once you let go to send the message. Audio messages that has an option when you get done, it'll say, "Do you want to send this? Yes or no?" But if you turn off that default, it just sends when you finish. So
Mm-hmm.
I can hear when people mess up, like, "Oh crap, I didn't mean to send that one." So
Ah,
because they reported it, they didn't mean to do that. So
yeah.
audio
Yeah.
message,
Yeah.
when that checkbox comes up, don't enable that. Let that go. But make
Yeah.
sure go ahead and try to just do that. And
Yeah.
we said, what's the subject? How's the subject matter going? The subject matter's going okay, Abdul. Thanks for jumping in here. But yeah, send me an audio message. Send me a video message. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something people don't use enough, and
Mm-hmm.
it makes it more fun. I mean, God, we're here to. There's so many bad things going on in the U.S. and around the world right now. You can be socially, physically distanced, but not socially distant. I'm more
Yep.
connected now than before COVID because I walk out
Mm-hmm.
on a Zoom call, I do a live with you, I'll get on a phone call because
Yeah.
I'm not going out like that like I used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Same thing with, like, here. Like, I moved here to Vegas. 2 months ago. So I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a family. So you have to be proactive. So there are ways to actually proactively meet people. So I'm like going online, whatever. I meet people one on one. So I actually made a number of friends right here in Vegas, and I've never felt lonely being here because I'm proactively connecting with people. So you can just sit back and then, because virtual is different. I mean, I need the human interaction, physical human interaction. So I actually go out and meet people. And then luckily in Vegas, like, they're a little bit more laid back, that there's actually more there's dine in at the restaurant now. California was, it took some time before, and now I think it's gonna go back, to they're gonna closing again. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but they're starting to talk about that the casino might close. But anyway, but despite that, like there are ways to so proactively go out there and then connect with people. Like there's no reason to be lonely, because then the world is big. You just have to know how to reach out, and don't be afraid to reach out. And then you can utilize social media, whatever. I mean, I've made some friends from Facebook, and then I use that social media. There's different Facebook group, like for people who just moved to Las Vegas, or Las Vegas group. So you just have to be very proactive. Like, your social media is, it's like a big small world. So learn to utilize that. Don't be afraid. It's like Las Vegas, like a big small city. Like,
Yeah.
it's big, but it's small too. It's like pretty much everything, most everything is within 30 minutes away. Bay Area was a little bit lot bigger, so I kind of like it there. Like, it's like a big small city, right? I mean, you live here, so like,
I'm Florida
so,
now. Yeah. You'll notice in Vegas, you can never get lost in Vegas because it's all one big square.
exactly. It's like a grid. Okay, like just go north or south and look at Luxor is on the south, and then what's in the north? Stratosphere is
Right.
on the north.
Yep. Look, I went back to Vegas for an enrollment for the PGA.
Yeah,
PGA is one of our clients, so I had to go back
yeah,
to Vegas to help. And I'm Spanish, so I was speaking Spanish, and
yeah.
I hadn't been there in like 4 years. So I was like, I know how to get around. Like I didn't know where the golf course was, but I knew if I just
Mhm,
kept going south, I'd hit it eventually. So yeah, for anybody
mhm.
that goes to Vegas, I'm in Georgia. There's 20 Peachtree roads. Peachtree Road East, Northeast, West Corner. It's just so
Yeah.
I get lost all the time here. I'm like, man, I got spoiled by
Yeah, I guess here it's easy, right? Like it's a grid, really. It's like or
super.
like that. So
Yeah, lost in Vegas.
whoever designed Vegas did a good job.
Yeah, you cannot get lost in Vegas. My wife as well. She's like, I miss the easiness of Vegas because everything was in a square. It was super easy to get around.
Yeah, yeah. Well, except Henderson. Henderson is not really a grid, but Las Vegas City is like a
Yeah,
grid.
yeah. And Henderson, you get lost. Cumberland, you get lost. But Vegas, is not like one big box. So if you go up the
Yeah.
strip, you can see all of Vegas to your left and your right is riding up the strip.
Exactly, exactly. I like it. I like it. No, I enjoy it here in Vegas so far. So Dal, thank you so much. I tag you on this post, so feel free to share it, whatever. And then yeah, thank you so much for spending your time here. And then I hope everyone learned from it and will watch the replay. So thank
Yeah, appreciate
you.
it. Have fun. Keep on doing what you're doing, and folks, be safe and all that good stuff. And we're looking forward to 2021.
Yes, 2 more months, 1.5 more month.
Yeah,
All right. Thanks, Daryl. Bye bye.
thanks.